Hello and welcome to my podcast, Guys Dealings with Feelings. And today we're going to have a special guest on. But first, something I ask for you guys every show before we start is if you could please like, share, subscribe, follow wherever you're listening to us today. It really helps to drive the message forward, which could be something that changes someone else's life. So if you could do that for us, it'd be great. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcast under Guys Dealings with Feelings, and on YouTube and Instagram at I2U Thrive. That's I, the number 2, U, the letter U, Thrive. All right. And so today we're going to have on Carlo Taorimina. I had it right earlier. And he's going to be our guest today. And I'm excited and grateful to have him on today. Carlo has overcome some serious mental health obstacles in life and some other things as well. And he's now a keynote speaker and powerful life coach, helping people perform at their highest levels. And so that I don't forget to tell you guys, in today's episode's description, there'll be a link to Carlo where you can get in direct contact with him to discuss free resources and allow you to dive in deeper into what working together looks like. So, Carlo, I really want to thank you for coming on today. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
Yeah, Aaron, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm just looking forward to helping serve, giving value. Hopefully, somebody listens and takes it to heart, and just, again, hopefully it helps. So I'm just really happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Great. If you could, just to start out, could you take us through your journey? I know you had a really rough, it was 4 or 5 years ago, some really rough times. Can you kind of take us through your journey? I guess the collapse and the fall and where you were and where you've gotten to?
Yeah, absolutely. So, since I've been thinking about it, of the entire journey I had, the main period of my life or season where I was depressed, laying in bed all the time, I realized when I kind of overcame that on the other side of the spectrum, I realized I was dealing with symptoms of like depression much sooner, but I didn't really pick up on it. And a lot of it started when I was probably around, I don't know, like 17, 18, kind of getting out of teenage years, early in adulthood. And I just had a lot of feelings of self-doubt, limiting beliefs, saying I wasn't good enough, good at anything, really. I wouldn't be able to achieve anything. And I kind of pushed those to the wayside. Like, I just didn't think about it. But now, when we fast forward to like the end of 2020, and for the remainder of 2021, this is where like it happened. This is where I completely hit rock bottom. So what kind of was the last straw was I had 1 week in particular at the end of 2020. This is like right before Christmas. This is right before my birthday. I had what I like to call my hell week, right? Where literally anything that could go wrong did go wrong in my life. At least that's how I felt. Sure. And I didn't necessarily know how to respond to it, how to react. So I kind of just went in defense mode and just did nothing. So within this week, at the time, I was a manager of a gym. Right, I used to run this gym, and fitness has always been a part of my life. I just always loved it, and I love the environment. So I was in this gym, and I also had a business at the time, but I'll get to that in a little bit later. But obviously, I wasn't full time with it yet, so I was still working the 9 to 5, working this gym. And right before Christmas, right before all the holidays, my birthday, I get fired from this job. And I'm asking myself, I'm like, how am I going to support myself? What am I going to do? I gotta go job hunting now at like the worst time of the year. So that put a lot of fear in me and panic. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, I need to get a job. And then on top of that, I go through a really serious back injury in the same week. I had a herniated disc in my L5, S1 vertebrae. And for anyone that knows anything about back injuries, that's not a fun place to be. Being the fit guy, being the guy who's always on the move, wants to exercise, I couldn't. There was a period of time during this injury where I just couldn't walk because the pain was so bad. So I was literally just forced to lay in bed and not move. And for someone who's very active, that needs to move but can't and is trapped with his thoughts is not a fun place to be as well.
Sure.
So then in the same week, mind you, I get a phone call. And this phone call comes from this girl I'm seeing at the time. And to kind of give you context about this relationship, we were planning on getting married. She's saying, Carlo, we're going to have kids together. We're going to do the whole 9. And I was like heavily invested in this relationship, as was she at the time. And out of nowhere, I get this phone call. And she says, hey, Carlo, I want to break up. And I kind of get taken taking like a back seat for a moment. I'm just asking myself, like, what just happened? Like, did I do something? What went wrong? I had no closure whatsoever. I didn't understand. And then to kind of add more salt to the wound is the business I was mentioning earlier. I was a personal trainer. I had my own business, online coaching business, and it was failing miserably. I'm losing money. I'm spending more money than I'm making, and I'm going into debt. And I did one of those like bird's eye view type deals, or I kind of took a step out of myself and looked at the bigger picture. And I said to myself, what just happened? Like, what did I do so bad to deserve this? I can't walk. I got no money. I'm losing money. I got a broken heart all within 1 week, and I don't know how to respond to this. So then I just kind of came up with this answer. And I just said to myself, you know what? All I wanted with my life was to become somebody, was to help people, was to leave my mark in the world. And I'm busting my butt ever since I was a kid, trying to do this, trying to make something like this happen. And no matter what, I can't seem to do it. I can't seem to get there. So what's the point of me trying so hard, trying to be the best version of myself, if literally nothing works? So I quit. And I was like, I don't care anymore. I could care less about anything, anybody. I'm done. I'm stopping. So now to kind of give you some context of what was that year was like. 2021, I essentially just laid in bed every single day for that year. Pretty much what I did. And at the time, I actually lived with my parents. So for a young man who's in his early 20s, who has a lot of pride, that doesn't sit well, or didn't sit well with me. And even though I'm living with my mom and dad, I'm not talking to them. I cut off all communication. I cut off communication with my brother and my sister. I didn't talk to friends. I didn't leave the bedroom, let alone my bed. Right? That was like my cocoon, my sanctuary, my safe space. I could be depressed in here, right? And me then believing the story I was telling myself in my head of, this is my life now. I'm never going to be happy. I'm never going to find fulfillment. I don't have a purpose. Maybe I was just put here to suffer. I'm just not made for anything. And that broke my heart. And I'm laying in bed every day with these thoughts and this dialogue in my head, just saying, I'm not meant for anything. I'll never amount to anything. I am not fulfilled, and I'll never find a purpose. So with these constant thoughts running in my head, a few things happened. It definitely, I grew this self-hatred toward myself so bad that I couldn't even look at my own reflection in the mirror. A lot of people say that's a metaphor, but literally I could not look at myself in the mirror because I just did not like the person that I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't eat. I lost 13 pounds because I just didn't have an appetite. So I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a pretty thin person, but 13 pounds lighter is not pretty.
I was gonna say, I don't always have video on, and so if to look at you to lose 13 pounds, it knocks off a pretty big chunk, right?
Yeah, and literally, I was a toothpick, and I didn't care about anything. I didn't eat. I just had nothing mattered to me. I was so apathetic. And when it got to that point, I knew I didn't want this pain anymore. I didn't want these thoughts anymore. I didn't know what to do. So I thought the only solution was to take my own life, because I figured I don't want to do that. I don't want to go that route of ending my life, but I just want this pain to end. And at the time, that was the only solution that I found. So there was a day where I like to call it the threshold, right? It was the line between staying here and making that one decision you can't come back from. And I remember while my mom and dad are downstairs and I'm in my bedroom, I have this gun against my head. And I'm just saying to myself, okay, like, here we go. And the emotion, the panic, the anxiety that I was feeling, I couldn't go through with it. I just couldn't. And luckily, I'm glad I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But even in that time, suffering in silence, my family knew how I was feeling, but they didn't know that was happening, right? That I had, I was at that point. And after I put the gun away. I said to myself, you know what? It's just maybe not today, but it'll, not a matter of if, but when. So
Mm-hmm.
I still had these feelings. I still had this desire to end my life because I just couldn't cope anymore. And, a week would turn into 2 weeks, months would go by. And then before I know it, we're in the fall of 2021. And, again, those thoughts are still in my head that I want to end my own life. But then one day towards like early November, my mom asked me, she's like, hey, let's go out to lunch. Let's try something different. Let's get you out of the house. Let's just do something different. Immediately I reject it. I say, no, just leave me in my bed. I don't want to go anywhere, see anybody. Sorry, I'll pass. Eventually, my family kind of talked me into it. So we go out to lunch with my family. And it was the most awkward thing ever. I'm not speaking to anybody. I'm just essentially sitting by myself, eating my salad, not talking to anybody. And it was like I was the invisible man because everyone else is having a conversation, getting along, and I'm just there. Then towards the end of the meal, my brother asks me, hey, you should ride home with me. I said, okay, no problem. So we rode home. Nothing really eventful happened in the car in the conversation. But when we parked in the driveway, we had this like 10-minute conversation that felt like it lasted an eternity. And this conversation put me on the path to finding this breakthrough, to finding this light bulb. So my brother puts the car in park and he says, what are we going to do? What we tried everything, man. We talked you into therapy. You didn't want to do it. You did therapy. That didn't work. Okay. We tried mentioning some other ideas. But at this point, we don't know what to do. So please, if you want something, if you need something, let us know. What can we do to help you? And I told my brother, I said, there's nothing you can do. If I found the solution, I would have done it already, but I haven't. I'm still here. I'm still in the same space and I don't want to be here. So you should just give up because there's no hope. There's no point of trying. Right. And my brother didn't want to accept that answer. So he's just talking to me. He just says to me, look, I'm your brother and I would do anything for you. You're my brother. Would you do anything for me? And I said, of course I would. I didn't realize that he was setting me up for something because he says, okay, perfect. I need a favor from you. I'm like, okay, crap. All right. Well, what do you need? What's this favor? What can I do for you? And he says to me, I need you to do something different. Go on a trip. Get out of here. Get on a plane and go wherever. I don't care. Now, in my head, I'm thinking this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard because I'm saying to myself, you know how hard it was to get out of bed to go eat a salad at the Cheesecake Factory with you all. And now you want me to hop on a plane to God knows where to do God knows what. No, thank you. And the next thing he said to me really rattled my cage.
Mm-hmm.
He said to me, he was like, at this point, what do you have to lose? And then I let those words sink in. And the more I was thinking about it, the more I was pondering that question, I honestly realized that was true. That at this point, I have zero to lose. I am at that rock bottom that everyone was talking about. And I was thinking to myself, even if I do this favor for him, I know what I can still do if this doesn't work. If maybe I don't find an epiphany, I can still go to plan B, right? I can still clock out early. And that was, for some reason, like a coping mechanism or, an easy way. It was something like that. It brought me comfort, weirdly enough. But I moved that to the side and I'm just thinking about this question he's asking me. And then two things happened that I didn't plan. It just kind of came spur of the moment. And these two things I think are specific that I would credit to putting me on that yellow brick road, so to speak. The first thing I did was I shifted my focus from the life I was living. So every day I'm focusing on Carlo, you're a loser. Carlo, you're a failure. You don't have a purpose. You're not fulfilled. You're not going to do anything with your life. This is your future. I shifted my focus from that to the person I wanted to become. The guy who's helping people, the guy who would take a shirt off his back to give to you, the funny guy. I just focused on the life I really, really wanted. And the more I'm focusing on that, okay, it's making me feel a little bit better. And I just kept telling myself over and over again in my head, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to go. And I just said it maniacally in my head repeatedly. And then the second thing I did was I imagined I struck a match from a matchbook. And this little match has just this tiny flame on the end of it. And I'm envisioning and comparing this little flame to the real version of myself, the real Carlo, the happy guy, the happy-go-lucky guy, the funny person, the helpful person. And even though this flame is so small, the real version of myself is deep down there somewhere. And I just kept focusing on this little flame, and it sat in my gut, it felt like. And even though 99% of me was consumed by negativity, but 1% was still alive, I kept focusing on that 1%. And then the more I focused on this flame, it just grew, it grew, it grew. And then I felt like a freaking fireball, like a volcano. And then I looked at my brother and I said, okay, I'll do it. And then his eyes lit up. He's going crazy. He's like, okay, wow, perfect. I love that answer. Where is it you want to go? I didn't know Jack. I didn't know squat. I'm in Virginia right now. So during November, depending on what Virginia wants to do, it could either be hot or cold. During that time in early November, it was pretty nippy. So I said, okay, I don't want to go anywhere else cold. Let's just go somewhere warm. Okay, Carlo, fantastic. Where? I don't know, Florida? It's the first thing that came to my mind. Perfect. Okay. When do you want to go, Carlo? Soon? Okay, perfect. Last question. Do you want to go alone or do you want me to come along with you? And I just said to my brother, please come along with me. I don't know what's going to happen. I'll probably just lay in the hotel room every single day, so you might as well come along with me. He says to me, okay, don't worry about a thing. I will send you the details tonight. That was a Sunday. I get a text message that night with plane tickets that we leave on Tuesday. And I see on the plane ticket that we're going to West Palm Beach, Florida. Now, we didn't know where West Palm Beach, Florida was. We didn't know if it was on the East Coast, the West Coast. We didn't know anything about it. We never heard of it. My brother literally picked it because it just sounded attractive. That's the only reason why he selected that city.
It's a nice area.
It's very nice. I've been there like twice now. And I remember day one, I'm filled with immediate regret. Like, we haven't even arrived in Florida yet. We're in the Charlotte airport on a connection. And I'm just saying to myself, like, oh my gosh, why did I hop on a plane? Why am I here? Why are we going to Florida? This was a mistake. I want to go back home. And my brother's trying to like motivate me a little bit. He's trying to, get me hyped up. He's like, come on, we're out of Virginia. Let's embrace the spontaneity of everything. Day two, same thing. We're actually in Florida and we're not doing anything. My brother's wanting to go rent jet skis, go rent bikes. Let's go on a boat and go on a fishing trip. And I want nothing of it, right? So the most exciting thing we did up to that point in day two in Florida was we went to a local pharmacy, bought a deck of cards, and played Go Fish in the Park. That was like the extreme of our trip up to that point. And I remember, if we fast forward during that day in day two in Florida, we're sitting outside this cafe on this patio table, and we're just talking, just, BSing, just talking. And I see my brother put his phone down on the table, and he says to me, I booked us something we're going to do. I'm not telling you what it is. Just get up and follow me. And then I'm filled with panic and anxiety because I'm questioning this. I'm like, what are we doing? He says, just shut up. I'm not answering any of your questions. And then I'm kind of ruminating about what's going on in my head. I'm like, okay, is he going to take me out in the middle of the ocean on a fishing boat? Or are we going to go to a weird nightclub? I don't know what we're going to do. So I'm scared. So we're walking. I don't know where the heck we're walking to. But all of a sudden we're stopped and we're at the stoplight and we're going to cross the street. But we can't cross the street yet because the light's red and we're waiting for the little green walking guy. And I'm just taking in my surroundings because I've never been here before. So I'm just, observing, waiting for the light to turn green. I'm just looking around. And then all of a sudden, I just see this big building in front of me. And then it's the West Palm Beach Convention Center. And I say, okay, I didn't really think anything of it. But then I looked down. And I looked at the sign. And the electrical sign that's sticking out of the ground, it says, Tony Robbins, unleash the power within. And I'm dumbfounded. And I'm just like, I'm putting two and two together at this point. Mm-hmm. And I look at my brother, and he didn't say anything. He's like, what? What? I'm like, are you serious? He says, I don't know what you're talking about. He's playing stupid. Now, he and I have always been, big followers of personal development, self improvement. We've always had that like mindset, and we've, I mean, Tony Robbins is like the golden child of personal development. Like anytime you
And he
say the
started it.
words
Yep.
personal development,
Yeah.
like he's the one you think of.
Sure.
So apparently, and honestly, Aaron, like I credit divine intervention with this, because I don't think it's coincidence. I think it's too specific to be coincidental. We happen to be in Florida, a place that I randomly chose off the top of my head, a date I randomly chose. Somehow, someway, we're in this exact same location in Florida, the same time, and apparently there's this event going on, this seminar going on. And I was like, okay. So we go to this Tony Robbins seminar, and, of course, the things I learned there were amazing and definitely life-changing. But the biggest thing I would say that changed my life was an acronym I created called MDA. My life didn't change in Florida. Of course it did, but if we go back in the timeline, my life changed in one moment that led to one decision that led to one action. And that was when I decided in that one moment when I was in the car with my brother, I made a decision to hop on a plane. And I actually got my butt out of bed to get on a plane to go to Florida. And the rest is history. God, the universe, whatever, took care of the rest. And I think, that's my motto. That's what I preach to everyone, to everything I talk about, every podcast, is that, people think their lives need years to change, weeks, months to change, when honestly, it literally just takes one moment that leads to one decision that leads to one action. And that's what I did back in November of 2021. And if I didn't take action, I honestly wouldn't be talking to you. I wouldn't be the coach I am today. I wouldn't be a speaker. And that's the whole story of how I went from rock bottom to top of the rock.
That's awesome, man, and I'm glad you're up now. I know being down it sucks, and I often say it's as hard being down as the hard work to get out and be good and be kind of where we are in a happy, fulfilled place. It's, it takes a lot of work, and it is, like you said, I like that, the moment and the decision and taking action, because that's exactly what it is. It takes just, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, making a decision to change it and then taking the action to change it. So I love your acronym. Commend your brother on what he was able to do for you and your family. It's great to have loved ones, and you're really fortunate, I believe, to have them in your life. They just to keep, we're going to keep trying, even if it's out of selfish reasons, because we don't want to feel bad if something happens. We want to know we did everything we could, but it's still really cool that he was there for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only do I credit him, but my entire family, because they didn't give up on me.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I gave up on myself, they still were fighting. At that point, what seemed like a lost cause, but they just kept going. So a lot of credit goes to my entire family.
No, that's awesome. So something you focus on is limiting beliefs, and I'm very familiar with them myself, both in practice and in learning. But I've so how would you tell one who is, let's say that they have a financial limiting belief or a skill limiting belief? So I can't do that. I can't, I'm not capable of doing that. I can't, I'm just some country boy. I can't do something like that, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I would recommend, because this is what like the process I went through that literally rewired my brain, is first understanding what a belief even is. And I was deconstructing this. And what a belief is just a story that we tell ourselves with enough emotion invested into it, right? And, we can adopt these beliefs either from ourselves, from what we think about ourselves, or from others, right? So if you tell somebody, hey, I'm going to start a podcast or I'm going to start a business, about finance, and they'll say, oh, you're some country boy, you don't know anything about that. Okay, that might be a belief that you adopted from someone else. Or you might tell yourself the same thing. You just created this in your head. But Eventually, you're going to start to see that it's just a story. And the reason why you believe it is because there's so much emotion behind it. Now, when I realized that was the formula for belief, I said, okay, well, why can't I do the exact same thing but reverse it or put in the exact opposite, like variables, so to speak, for in this like
Mhm.
science experiment? So what I realized is that if I'm one to say I'm a failure, that's what I told myself those 2, 3 years ago. I'm a failure. I'm a loser. I'm not fulfilled. I can't do anything. Instead of me focusing on the so-called evidence that my brain was providing me, because that's what our brains do, right? It's just a giant filing cabinet for evidence, so to speak,
Mhm.
or what it thinks is evidence. And every time you say to yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm just some country boy, you can't do anything. Okay, your brain is then going to pull out memories from your past, these events, that is essentially trying to back up that claim. And then it's going to make you believe it. Oh, yeah, I remember that one time I tried something and I failed. That point proven, right?
Mhm.
So what I did was the exact opposite. So first and foremost, how I help my clients and how I help myself overcome limiting beliefs was first I wrote it down, because I feel like when you actually write it down, when you actually have something you can see, when it's tangible, you can actually read it. It's getting it out of here and onto paper or on your phone, or where, I don't care, but at least it's out of your head. You can actually read it. And then when I tell people to read it, I want them to make a list down below, just beneath it, of why that limiting belief is so wrong, is so stupid, so idiotic, so unrealistic. And then when I tell people that, and when I went through this process, is that I went like a madman. I just kept writing why it's so idiotic that I'm a failure, why it's so stupid and unrealistic that I'll never be fulfilled. And I'm writing reasons why this is stupid. And just beneath that, I wrote down a new belief I needed to adopt in order to become the person I wanted to become. So in my case, it was I am successful, I am smart, and I know I will be fulfilled. And then after I realized what beliefs I need to adopt now, I went through that same process of not only telling myself that, oh, I am successful, I am smart, I am capable, but I went to my filing cabinet, I went to my brain, I closed my eyes, and I visualized every single moment from my life that I can even think of where I felt successful, where I felt smart, where I felt accomplished, where I felt victorious. And I'm just reliving these moments. I'm not just thinking about them, I'm literally reliving them. So it's as if I'm breathing the same way I was breathing back then when I, scored a goal in my soccer game. Like it could be anything. But the
Mhm.
main point is to relive these moments that is backing up your new empowering belief. And once you do that, not is it only making you feel better, but it's giving you so much more confidence in your capabilities. If that's one of your issues, is that you are insecure or you think you're not successful, it's giving you that proof you need to say, "Hey, Aaron, Carlo, John, Bob, whoever, I am successful, and here are the reasons why I am. This is all the amazing things I've done in my life. So why am I one to let one, two, three, a handful of experiences dictate the rest of my life?" And that's just one of those methods that I use and I help my clients use.
Oh no, man, that is outstanding. I love that, and of course, I'm right on board with it. Teach and say the same things often, and that is, we're going to do what we tell ourselves we're going to do. So,
Yep.
in your message just now, where you're telling yourself I'm a loser and nobody loves me and all that, I've gone through the same exact things, and that's how it's going to continue to feel until you have a shift and really start focusing on what needs to shift and then go, there's your moment. And then, you get a direction and takes some action. So, all right, awesome. And so you've got some history in being a physical trainer. You mentioned earlier, you still doing any of that, or is that just in your past? Do you mix it in with your coaching? What do you use that for?
So I do kind of try to mix it in, but it's not so much like super, super, super technical of, okay, we're going to be doing 3 sets of whatever, right?
Sure.
I kind of let that personal training side push it to the side, right? And it's more so on just the mindset. But I really do emphasize in order to become the best version of ourselves, we do need to take care of our physical health. We do need to take care of our mental health as well. So how do we take care of our physical health? And obviously, I kind of supply some information,
Mhm.
basic stuff, but nothing super technical like a workout plan, nutrition plan, nothing like that right now. Now.
Right, right, right. Gotcha. And that's because it again, it's huge in our healing, our physical health. Not, and I know neither of us are dietitians, and wouldn't try to speak on that. But the physical part, and I've never been a physical trainer, and so I definitely don't tell others a specific routine, but just anything helps. Walking, push-ups, body resistance. You don't need a gym membership. You don't have to have a physical trainer. You just have to do more than you're doing right now. So if you're already doing push-ups, then add something to it. If you're doing nothing, put some push-ups in there. What's pushing you forward now? You say you got your mindset coaching career going, and you're helping. I know you help people who are driven and ready to go become their best selves. Tell us a little bit about that. Do you got a program you use? You do one-on-one coaching? How do you work
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So I mean, Aaron, I have big plans for what I'm about to do right now, but right now I am doing one-on-one coaching, and that's something that I don't think I'll ever get rid of. And my
Hmm.
program is essentially just helping these driven men, ambitious people, highly ambitious men, high achieving men, find that deeper fulfillment, how to perform at their best version of themselves, whether it be professionally, whether it be personally, but how we can unlock our true potential and achieve whatever it is we want to achieve, right? And that's what I do. My coaching program is like it's just 3 months, but that's something that I think every person needs a coach. I think everyone
Sure.
needs a mentor
Yep.
because there's somebody out there that has what you want. The best that you can do for yourself is to invest in yourself and to learn for what you don't know. Because why go through the process alone? What could take you 10 years. Instead, let's condense time, and that's what a coach and mentor is for. They'll condense 10 years into 3 months, right?
Hmm.
So that's
For
a little bit
sure.
of what I do.
Yeah, great, great. Yeah, 12-week program. You can definitely install quite a bit in a 12-week program, and you're exactly right. You're buying time. You're buying experience and knowledge, do's and don'ts, touches to the stove that you can prevent yourself. Um, and finally, to kind of put you on the spot a little bit, what on your self-care routine? And the big deal behind my podcast is to have guys talking about mental health, to have
Yeah.
two men who are experienced in life and have gone through things, to sit down and have a real conversation about mental health, because it's been so taboo in our society. I don't speak on other societies because I'm not sure, but in our society for sure, it's been so taboo for men to discuss it. It's a weakness, all the stuff that goes with that. So just as a man, and obviously as a man who's dealt with mental health issues and has done a lot of hard work to get through them, can you give us some of your routine, something that, and I'm sure you've heard before, something that successful people share is they have a nice routine. They have a good routine that they stick to, and it drives them. So could you give us kind of a little insight in your routine? I'm not asking you to break it down by the hour or even the times in which you do things, but things that you make sure that you keep going to make, as best you can, so that you keep on the path that you're on, so that you stay positive, so that you don't get back into your bed in your bedroom at your mom and dad's house, and don't want to come out. So how do you prevent that from happening now that you're kind of cooking on all cylinders?
Yeah. So for me, I'll give my morning routine because this is something that I is a non-negotiable for me every single day, right? It's something that I personally believe in, especially in the morning, because a lot of times I'm pretty sure you can relate to this as well, and the listeners as well. Is when we have something that unfortunately happens in the morning, right? It kind of sets the tone for the rest of the day. Oh crap! I spilled coffee on myself. Okay, now I'm gonna have a crappy day. I'm stuck in traffic, and I got late to work, and then I got late to work. Then my boss chewed me out. And then it becomes this like boulder that keeps rolling down. That is, a negativity boulder. Well, I realized in my morning I need to get myself right to set myself up for success for the rest of the day. So I love getting nerdy and talking about like fun facts and whatnot. So I'll try to keep it brief. But I realized that my body language, my physiology, has so much to do with how I feel mentally, my emotional state. So once I understood, and once I kind of look back at the true evidence of my life, where the times I felt depressed, sad, angry, I remembered what my body language looked like. I was probably sitting down, laying down on the couch, laying in bed. Did it for a year, right? And I realized how I was feeling internally was then being expressed physically outside. And I know a lot of people can relate to that because every time they're angry, they're frustrated, they're sad, they'll just get on the couch, start watching TV, and like crumble up in the fetal position, right? So I understood that if you want to not only become the best version of yourself, to take control of your mental state, but to achieve any high level result you want, you need to be at a high energy state. And that's what's going to help you make better decisions. Because no one has ever made a good decision when they're angry. No one has ever made a good decision when they're sad. No one's ever made a good decision when they're anxious. So why should we be performing from that side of the spectrum? So part of my morning routine is I get up, I don't look at my phone, I don't look at my Instagram, Facebook, like I don't care about that stuff. That has a time and place, and it's not right now. I need to get myself right first. So when I wake up, I come in here in my office, and I do what I like to call, or what I learned is called getting into a peak state, right? So I come in here and I just move my body. I don't care if it's push-ups, I don't care if it's jumping jacks. I legit. This might sound too macho for some men out there listening, but I don't care. This legit saved my life. I'll put on my headphones and I will dance to the most electrifying song in my playlist, and I'll just dance to a song just for 2-3 minutes. But I'm radically changing the way my body language is, because when I do that, not only are you producing and sending out serotonin in your brain, that is the mood boosting hormone, not only am I doing that feeling better, but I'm in a better state to make better decisions. So that's part of my morning routine. And then the next thing I do is this like 10-15 minute meditation. And the reason why I do this 10-15 minute meditation is because so many people, in fact, most people, I would agree, especially men, we internalize everything. We don't express ourselves, and we're always letting the external affect our internal world. Our bills, bad relationships, the economy, whatever the case may be. We're always letting everything in, and we don't have a filter to filter out all the BS. But what I realize is that we have control. We can actually apply a filter in our brains and our hearts that says, okay, I will only filter in the good stuff, and everything that's negative that does not serve me, I'll just throw away, right? So what I realize is that we are so external, we don't have conversations with ourselves. We don't have dialogue with ourselves, or at least in a positive way. We don't remind ourselves of how beautiful life is. So what I do in this 10-15 minute meditation is I break it down in a few parts, but mainly the essence of this meditation is just stacking everything that is positive in my life, everything that makes me feel grateful, every moment that I can think of that made me feel successful, every moment where I felt laughter, where I felt grace, where I felt accomplishment, whatever the case may be. I'll just let everything flood in my head. And as I'm doing this, I'm legit just putting one positive thing on top of another, and I just stack. And the reason why I do that is because if you look at the opposite scenario, where a lot of people operate from, is, oh, this bad thing happened, but then I think of this other bad thing, and then you see how it stacks, and then as an end result, it makes us feel worse. Mm-hmm. What we're doing here, what I do, is essentially the exact opposite. I'm just stacking positive stuff, and by the end of it, a lot of times I am in tears because of how good I feel, because of all these moments I'm reflecting on that I haven't thought about in years, and I'm feeling grateful for these moments, even if it's so small. It still literally changes the way I feel, rewires my brain, and I'm operating from a different place. To kind of end it, what I like to think of is everything in life that's wrong will always be available, but so is what's right. So I'm choosing to focus on what's right. Sure. And that's essentially my morning routine, and I do it every single day.
Yeah, that's great. You're mixing that, like I say, the physical and the mental, they're all intertwined. And I know there's more and more science coming out about that, where our guts are really where all the emotional piece is happening, and it's sending stuff to our brain. It's wild. And all we know is when we don't feel good and when we do. And a lot of our transformations, I believe you've really touched on here as well, is understanding that to focus on the positive is so much more, it serves us so much better. It helps drive us into the places we want to be, whereas focusing on the negative just keeps us there. And that's why I often tell people that you just get tired of being there, and then change what you're doing, because that's what's keeping you
Yep.
there. I don't give a damn if it's what you've been told you should do your whole life. It
Mhm.
ain't working. Change it. You know what I mean? So, but Carlo, I'm really, really glad you came on and shared your story with us today. Super grateful that you're sharing tools out here, helping men get to a better place, be happy, be fulfilled. And so thank you for doing that. And like I said, a website on the description here so that people can get to you and see if they can't get some help from you. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it, brother.